Okay, today I want to tie the, I call it the depositing Grannom because it's an egg laying, it's an egg laying sedge really, and it's often called a green tail. And I want to point out and show you the little green egg sac and then at the tail there. Can you see that okay? I hope you can. And it's it's a dry fly, and I think this little egg sac, this green egg sac, gives it some attraction anyway. So I put a tie it fore and aft method. I put a hackle on the rear, which I then trim off underneath to allow the fly to fish, showing the egg sac. And I think it does add some attraction to the fly. It's a dry fly, and a Grannom or a sedge, whatever you want to call it, but it really is, we call it a Grannom. It's a fawn grey in colour, and it darkens with exposure to the air. Now, it's one of our smaller sedges. It's only about 1/2 inch long. Well, when it's compared to the great red sedge or the caperer or the silver sedge. It's a river-bred fly. Most sedges are. Americans call it the caddis, and this name is becoming increasingly popular in the UK. As a boy, I remember blizzard-like hatches. One hatch in particular, near Kern Bridge, just outside Monmouth on the River Wye, it was so heavy that it even affected the traffic, and you could not see the other side of the river. Strangely enough, some South Wales rivers are completely devoid of them, and on other rivers they can disappear for years and then come back in force. Most sedges are nocturnal, starting to appear at evening time, but the Grannom is probably our only day flying sedge. Although I have seen silver sedges fly in during the day as well. They all have one thing in common, and that's a roof-type wing when at rest. Now, I'm not using a roof-type wing on this. I'm using CDC, or col de canard, whichever you want to call it. It's the correct colour, and it works well. And it also floats well. CDC, as you all know, is very good for floating. The trout love it. I think the attraction is in the egg sac. So I'm going to tie that now. Now the hook I'm using is a size 14 long shank. And I like the long shank because it gives me a bit of room. Now what I'm going to do is show you how I make the egg sac. And I want you to be, I'm going to light a little tea light here and show you what I do. Now you see I've got this little tea light here. I get a piece of heavy nylon, and if it's a greeny colour, so much the better, like this. Now, I don't want any of you youngsters to try this at home without supervision. And what you do, you just hold it close, and do you see it melting? You see that melting? Just hold it close, not dip it right in to the flame. Okay, that's our egg sac. You can also add, if you can't get this greeny nylon, you can also touch it up with a marker pen. I will do that just to show you in a moment or two. Okay, I'm going to put on the egg sac now, because that's the first item on this fly. Right, I've already waxed the silk, so I'll put a bit of a foundation down. Don't need to be too particular about the foundation, because it doesn't really need to be touching turns, because it's going to be covered with rabbit for the main body. Okay, nip that off. And now I'm going to tie in the egg sac. Just pick it up And this is it. When you burn it, have some water like this to dip it in. Because if you handle it when it's hot, when it's just been burned, take it from me, it can burn your fingers. Right, this is the first item to go on, the egg sac. I usually give a couple of winds like that and then draw it to where I want it. I like it sort of just hanging over the back, just like that. Okay, do you see that? So I secure it pretty well like this. This is my own design, but some of my friends have started to use it and I've had a bit of luck with it. Okay, now I'll trim off the surplus here, just like that, and I'll tie it all down a bit to make it nice and secure. Now I'm going to put on, the next item is the aft hackle, the rear hackle, but I did mention to you about marker pen. So this is just an ordinary office permanent marker pen, and this is optional. You can touch this up if you want to. Just touch up the egg sac if you want to. It's called a green tail by some people. I just wanted to show you that, give you the option of doing it. Okay, now I'm going to put on the rear hackle, and the hackle is a pale ginger hackle for the rear and for the front, because there's two hackles on it. Just prepare this hackle. It's a cock hackle and it's from a saddle cape. I tie it well down here, at back there. I'll nip off the stalk because I've given it a good few tight windings. And I'll just park my silk up the front while I wind this hackle. And as I said earlier, I like to trim underneath this rear hackle. It's a style I like, this fore and aft, and I do often trim under the rear hackle. Trout like the fore and aft because it gives them a good mouthful, but I also think it gives a good profile of the fly, or what do they call, a footprint, if you like, of the fly. Okay, nip that off and use that for another fly or the front. So that's the aft hackle on. Now I won't clip under it just yet, and I'll do it shortly. Now there's a rib. I like to use a gold rib, a fine holographic gold rib. It seems to suit this fly. I've used it a lot and it works quite well. Excuse me while I just cut some off. Okay, pick it up. Ooh. Dropped it. And I'm going to tie it on. Just tie it on the side, draw it back if you want to, and I take the silk tight back, make sure it's wound down, locked down tight. Okay, the next item to put on is the body material, and I like to use rabbit for this because this fly is a grey and fawny sort of colour. So we're getting the fawny out of the ginger hackle and we're getting the grey out of the rabbit. So I get a pinch of rabbit and I do this a bit at a time, little bits. You've heard me say before, with dubbing, always a little bit at a time, and a little bit of moisture does help. Okay. Take it back, ready to start the body where I want it, there. Touch more dubbing. if you want a fatter body on any fly, don't add more dubbing, go over several times. See, we're getting somewhere. Just get a bit more. Bit loose there, so drop more moisture is needed. Up to about there, just like that. I'm going to rib it, and I'm going to rib the same way because I don't mind if this rib tucks down a little bit in amongst the body. On most ribbons you counterwind, you'd go the opposite way to the way you wound the body, but sometimes it looks better with a sort of a segmentation on the fly body. That's what I'm hoping to do here. Now this gives a little bit of sparkle, and these new holographics, well, they say they're new, they're newish anyway. A bit new to me because I've been tying flies for a little while. Okay, now the wing, and I want to, you see the wing on this sedge here that I tied earlier? It's a grey CDC type of wing. So this is what I'm going to put on. Natural CDC comes in this colour, in this packet. Small feathers, I get about 5 together, like this, and I line them up to put them on. Sort of like that. Fairly straightforward. And the wing comes towards the end of the body. Tie them down, have a little look at them. That looks pretty good to me. Now CDC is good because it floats well, but the main reason it gives on this fly is it gives the sort of profile I want, and it's the right colour. So that's our wing on. Give it a nice winding down. Right, there we are. So that's our wing on, and the next is the front hackle. So another ginger, light fawn ginger hackle. Just prepare it, bear with me. I tend to use saddle capes. Most of my hackles are nice and long, smallish barbs, and it's good quality hackles. These saddle capes can be expensive, but you do get good value. You get good, you can tie several flies out of one. Now I'll just tie that stalk back, if you bear with me, like that, and I'll bring my silk up to the front. And I'll capture that stalk to remove it. Bear with me. And that's that. And I'll just wind this hackle as normal. Because it's nice and long, I don't need to use hackle pliers. Secure it like that. Another couple of winds and I'll remove the surplus. Okay, just knock off this surplus piece. That's that. Draw it all back to let me get at the head to secure things and tidy up. Okay. I'm sure you'll have success with this fly. It's a cracking little fly. This is my whip finish. Just give it 3 winds and I draw it up like this. Remove the silk, open to a gape up against the fly, gently push, and you won't remove any hackles when you do that. Okay, now the rabbit I used in the body. Rabbit is the best friend of dubbing. It's very well behaved, it's easy to use, and I think if any newcomers, youngsters, starting off with dubbing, use and you want a fur body, use the rabbit because it's great. Easy to use. Putting some varnish on the head, on the silk, like this. Just put the top on the varnish. I've got, I want to clear the eye, and I've got 1 or 2 stray hackles poking over. They don't really matter very much, but I will get them out in a moment or two. Clearing the eye, very important part. Okay, let's have a look. 1 or 2 little hackles here. Just shift them. Some people tie this fly with the antenna poking over. I don't think it makes any difference. The attraction to that fly is the egg sac, in my opinion. You see, I'm clipping under the hackle at the back there. I'm not going to take everything off. Just like that. And that fly will sit lovely in the water. The egg sac will go down and the fish will go for it. I feel certain and I feel very confident. So I hope you picked up a few tips there, and I thank you for watching.